Alright, so THEGREA was a very interesting new deck that came out of set 5. It's basically a new mechanic that lets you overdress, not overdress, persona ride with two different units, which is the light THEGREA and the dark THEGREA, that they can overdress on top of each other, on top of their normal persona ride. Which means, like, if you have a light THEGREA, you can still persona ride on top of a light THEGREA, but if you have a dark THEGREA, you can persona ride dark THEGREA over light THEGREA, and vice versa. So this was the first deck that I wanted to take to the 1K for the Kingslayer Cards event. I really wanted to play one of the new strategies from set 5, the Clash Epic decks. Like, I really liked THEGREA with her new mechanic, just the way the deck played. But in testing, and I tested this deck extensively, it was just so piece reliant, so prone to breaking. You had to persona ride every turn. Like, granted, you have Maple to search your persona rides out from your soul, or like to fish them out of soul, I should say. But still, it was a very piece reliant deck. I didn't like that, and that's what leaned me to the Overlords, and that's what leaned me to PBO, which I felt like, wow, I feel like PBO just does what this deck tries to do, but better. But not really. PBO, like, this deck is like a completely different strategy from PBO. Like, yes, it is still a 4-attack deck, but it just has like different like toolbox options, and that's what I generally liked about this deck. This deck was a toolbox deck. But let's get into it, and I'll show you what I mean. For the grade 3s, the only ones that I'm running are the four dark and the 2 light THEGREAs. You can afford to cut a light, because as long as you see Maple, you're always able to fish a light out from your soul off of your persona ride. So like, having too many lights I found bricky, so I cut it down to 2. This is fine. 4 dark THEGREAs is like, it's a max, it's necessary. Like, you could search this off of your ride line, but it's only a top 5 search. But it's very important that you do see this for your turn 4 plays. Let's move this. I think right there is fine. Yeah, right there is fine. Yeah, that's more than fine. Yeah. And then you're playing. For the grade 2s that I'm playing, I'm only running 8 grade 2s. I was like running like 12, then like I went to 10, then I went back to 12, but I cut it down to 8. I'm running 4 Maples. You need Maple. Maple is like your +1 every turn, because you're persona riding every turn, so you're always going to be able to resurrect her from the drop zone. But you are running Drilling Angel, because Drilling Angel is a very important combo piece for your turn 3. Because if you have, especially Maple as well, like if you have Maple or an extra dark, what you can do is you pitch dark for ride, you call Drilling Angel, Drilling Angel puts dark into your soul, and now you have the dark in soul to superior call 2 off of your top 5 search for the light THEGREA, which is very crucial. It is also very crucial that it allows you to put the appropriate grades into your soul for Maple to search out your persona rides. To search out, like, let's say you wanted to search a PG from your soul, you put a PG from your drop zone into the soul, you soul blast out grade 1, add the PG to hand, and vice versa with like zeros and any other grade in this deck. So it's a very important combo piece to like essentially toolbox your soul, to make sure that you have the light and dark in soul. So that's why we are maxing out on 4 copies. And the reason that I did cut down the grade 2s to such a low number was that there was like so many times in playtesting of this deck, like turns 2 and 3, my field would get clogged with grade 2s and 3s that can't boost. So I decided to just minimize the amount as much as possible, and then bulk up on important grade 1s that you do need to play this deck. And we're getting into that with, I'm running 4 copies of Desolation Knight. This is a very important combo piece in the deck, because your Dark THEGREA blows up a column, which is very good for your Knight of Desolation, losing my words here, for your Knight of Desolation, because with Persona Ride, it basically becomes a 1-card 28k attacker. So, and again, this card is just very good in the early stages of the game to rush with. And this deck really doesn't have that many plays in the early game, so it is very important to max this out at 4 copies to see it in the early game, and to have at least 1 copy for your for like in combination to your Dark THEGREA. Next card we are playing is, we are playing 4 Diffuser Angels. Now the reason that we're maxing out on Diffuser Angels, even though we do already have Drilling Angel to shove our darks and our lights into Soul, Diffuser Angel helps in addition to that, and it also helps in another area which this deck has a hard time reaching over the 20s. So like the biggest number that you would generally make is 28 or like 23 minimum. But this just helps you reach over that number because it becomes a 13k booster and it gives 5k to your Vanguard. So if you do this on a turn that you're restanding with Dark, Dark becomes a 28k restander versus just a 23k restander. This becomes a 13k booster in front of a Drilling Angel, makes a 33k column instead of just a 28k column. So this is just another like very crucial card on top of your Knight of Desolation, on top of Maple, on top of Drilling Angel. Do you see what I mean here when I say that this deck is very piece reliant / combo heavy? On to the rest of the grade 1s. This grade 1, on initial release, I'm running 4 Ornlingus Lion. I hated this grade 1. Like, I really didn't like this grade 1. If you don't know, its effect is when it's called to rearguard, doesn't matter if it's from hand or from deck, if another Ornlingus Lion has been called by this unit's effect, or by this same card effect, if you Persona Road CB1, call an Ornlingus Lion from your deck at rest and shuffle your deck. So it's basically a hard once per turn, and it's basically that it only works if you Persona Road. So you can't use this card until turn 4, so it's useless in the early game. Yes. But it's 1 card that turns into 2 cards, and that's very crucial in this deck, because this deck really doesn't like field control. Like, at times, it has a hard time creating a board without, like, light THEGREA, without Maples, because sometimes it's hard to get Maples out of your Soul, because the only thing that Soul Blasts, at least in this version of the build, the only thing that I have Soul Blasting is Maple herself. So it's kind of hard sometimes to fish Maple out of the Soul from her own ability. And the reason that we're running Ornlingus Lion is because you need to retire 2 for her ability. This is a perfect retire target because it comes in at rest. So that's why we're maxing out on copies of that. I was initially running the K and Benevere engine, the K and Benevere engine, but it took up too many slots in my deck. This does the same thing, but it's a turn slower, so that's why I am running it at 4 copies, even though I necessarily still don't like the card. For our final grade 1s that we are playing, we're playing 4 PGs. It's crucial. You could cycle it off of Maple, and really nothing much else to say. One thing that I do want to note is the reason... Ooh, my lighting's going away. The reason that I'm not running certain cards, like the new grade 1 that gets 2k for every one of your other units, I'm not running that card. I'm not running the other grade 1 that a lot of people are playing, which is, I forget her name, Painkiller Angel, that when you Soul Blast it, you retire it to draw a card, is because I have had another reason why I'm not playing this deck right now, or like I wasn't playing it for the tournament, was that this, in my personal experience, I've had problems decking out with this deck. Like, and I didn't run draw triggers. In any of my playtesting, I've never run draw triggers with this deck, and I've always had a problem with decking out with this deck, with a problem with closing out the game. And it was really pissing me off. So that's why I took Painkillers out the deck. I didn't want anything to draw. I just wanted to recur off of Maples. I just wanted to plus the board. I didn't want to draw except off of my Persona Ride or off the Overtrigger. We are running the Kenner Overtrigger in this build. Another card that we're not running the grade 3. That's when if you Persona Road CB2, retire it to give your Vanguard an extra drive check. That card is a good card. I'm not running it because this deck is a little CB heavy. Ornlingus Lion requires a CB. Your Vanguard requires a CB. You're using like 1 to 2 CB every turn. So it can become CB heavy at times, and that's the main reason why I'm not running that card, because it's a CB2 and that's just a very heavy cost. Even though it is a good card, it is a good play, but all it does is give you extra drives, it pluses you, it doesn't guaranteed win you the game, and I just, it was a grade 3. Like I said, I've had problems with decking out, so that's one of the main reasons why I'm not running it in this version of the deck. Moving on to the triggers, I am running, where can we put the triggers? I guess I could just put them like right here. I'm running four of the 20k fronts. It's the reason I'm running the 20k fronts at 4 in this build, even though, like, you know, we don't draw and like plus to hand reel that much. The 10k to the front row is very crucial. I wouldn't run any more fronts because you do need crits. Like 7 crits is the minimum that I'm willing to run in this build, but you do need the front triggers. You do need to check the front triggers, especially against Tamayura. Like, Tamayura is a very uphill battle for this deck because it's very hard for you, unless you combo off in a certain way, to reach numbers that are not minimum 23, not minimum 18. So that's why we're running the front triggers. We're running maxing out on the effect crits. It hasn't come up, but you know, better to have it than not need it than to need and not have it. 3 more crits, again 7 crits because you still need crits to close out games. I'm running 3 regular heals. One of the heal that it's a 25k shield if that unit restood, and then one of the Keter over trigger. You deck compress a lot in this deck, so the Keter over trigger isn't necessarily a bad thing in this version of the deck, over the Cray Elemental over trigger that I was running in my PBO list. I haven't tested the Cray Elemental, maybe it's better in this list, but I'm just sticking to the Keter one for now. And I could run like a 1-1 split of both the heals, because I can technically recur them off of Maple, but I'm just running one of the restand heal for now. I don't really feel like I need the crit heal. Like, if something has an extra crit, generally I PG it, if it can be PG'd. Generally I'll just PG it, but I haven't found like I needed it. This deck, in my opinion, is solid-ish tier 2. It's very like very low tier 2, like borderline tier 3, because, at least in my opinion, of course, just because of how piece reliant the deck is. And if something's piece reliant, you want to run like draws, right? But you can't, because I've just had, like, at least in my experience, I've had so many problems with decking out with this deck. I can't afford to run draws. I can't afford to run cards that plus to hand because of deck out problems with this deck. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you want to share your list, quite possibly. I'm not like, I don't mind that either. If you're like, hey B, like, check this out, this is like a really cool list, you should try this, I'd be willing to try it. Like, I think I've tried like damn near everything with this list, to be honest. Like, my last ditch effort is the Diffuser Angels. But yeah. See y'all later.